I've been to treatment 10 times.
10.
21 from 18 to 20 years old. I managed to find my way into 10 inpatient treatments. And then after that, I mean, like probably 15 to 17 treatments if we're counting outpatients.
Wow.
Like, I mean, like my life has basically been like, I live in treatment and that's what I know. So like when they talk about like, this is may or may not be like an okay comparison, but like when people are in prison for a lot of their lives, like they're like institutionalized, right? Like that's like, that's what they know. So like part of me was like really struggled like getting any type of freedom because like all I know is structure. All I know is like treatment. All I know is that inpatient, like wake up at 7 a.m., go to breakfast.
And being restricted because none of the substances are anywhere around you or near you or anything like it's like a safety net almost at the same time as it teaches you how to be sober. But it's not, none of the substances are there. So it's like
synthetic. It's a synthetic environment.
Right.
Like once I'm like expected to like carry on that same lifestyle, like not in the bubble wrap. Sorry.
You're okay.
Burping.
We do it all the time.
We burp here.
So no, you go ahead and finish your comment. I had a question, but
yeah, I mean like it took a lot more suffering for me to like actually want to give it up. So like I've been on 3 state mental health and chemical dependency commitments because like my behavior when I'm using is like erratic. It is insane. But like that didn't start until I found my drug of choice. That's not entirely true. I had some crazy behaviors before that, but like once I found my drug of choice, which I'm an IV meth user, or no longer an IV meth user. For today, I'm not an IV meth user.
How long have you been clean?
15 months today.
Looks at his watch.
Today.
Congrats.
Today.
Congrats.
Yeah.
So we should probably go now. All right.
And we're in.
Hey, welcome back to Straight Candid Podcast, where we take pride in saying the wrong thing, drinking too much caffeine, and talking too fast. Here at Straight Candid, we live unfiltered. No edits, deletes, or drags and drops. Just 2 Minneapolis girls who hit record and keep it candid.
Let's get into it. Hello again.
Hello.
Hello. We are back. What episode is this? Holy crap. It's 36. 37. Holy shit.
I think it's so funny when we were on KDWB the other week, which humble brag, that was awesome. Dave was like, well, how many episodes you guys at? 85?
85, 90, 100? No. What's your favorite one? We're like, we have a little bit under 40. And I'm like, I like 25.
But yeah,
like,
what a fun time that was.
That was a blast, you guys. If you haven't listened yet, it's on the iHeartRadio app. Did you find what it's called?
Yeah. So I actually listened just through the podcast. So I just went to my podcast app and you type in.
Even easier. Amazing.
Yeah. You type in the Dave Ryan Show and it's titled If Carmel Could Talk.
Good Lord.
And I died laughing. I'm like, wow, they were creative with that name, because if you haven't yet, you know, a prior episode, I talked about my stuffed dog named Carmel. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll post the episode.
I feel bad for Carmel. That's all I have to say. Yeah. I feel bad for Carmel. And if Carmel could talk, she or he or whoever would tell you a lot of things that you don't need to know.
Anywho. Yeah, it was a really cool experience to kind of see a different type of in studio recordings. It was weird because we had commercial breaks.
Yeah, which was, you were like, you're telling a story and then they're like, and a 3, 2, and you're like, okay, we're coming back. And I'm like, all right.
But
thank you. Not used to that.
Thank you to everyone that was involved in that. So the Back Pocket production and
our crew,
Jackson came along, and it was real fun. So thank you guys.
Marcus was there. He was killing it with the camera, as always. Not surprised. You guys, we are getting ready for Bochella this weekend, so freaking pop off. But this is coming to your ears on Thursday. You've got 1 day to figure out your orange outfit, okay? And get your freaking Bochella themed. I almost said another word that we can't say anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Bochella is the word we're not supposed to say.
Oh, what? Okay, Coachella themed. Well, then I don't freaking give a crap. Who cares? Anywho, wear a little orange. The Straight Candid crew at Bochella will be taking a picture together. So you want to be there. You want to be wearing orange. So we know that you came and you thought of us too. So get there. We're freaking hyped. I'm hyped about it. We're gonna go to your class before at Barry's and then get ready and then rush over.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's gonna be the best day of the summer.
Best day of the summer. We're also prepping for our boat episode. It's happening. It's going to be on August 8th. We actually asked Jordan and he actually said yes. So
thank God.
Literally, we're like planning a day. We're having people. We're making a plan, telling folks.
We told everyone, our sponsors, everyone about this August 8th.
August 8th.
August 8th. And we forgot to ask the man who had the boat. So
The only person to make it happen.
it is happening, but we still need your guys' help. So if you want to be part of that episode, we'll have 2 to 3 listeners hop on the boat with us. And all you have to do is submit the best Straight Candid story ever. And if you want to be eligible, you have to prompt that Straight Candid story with like, yo, get me on the boat. Here's my Straight Candid story.
There it is.
So make sure when you send that DM, you preface it with that, because that's how we're filtering through the contestants. And then the other way to be eligible is to also make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So send the Straight Candid moment and leave a review. And then
Please
boom,
and thank you.
more than likely you'll be hopping on the boat. So just get on it, people. Get
This
on
doesn't
it.
have to be a Straight Candid moment that happened yesterday. This could have happened 4 years ago. I don't really
Yes.
give a crap, but it's got to be good. And I know a lot of your moments are good, but think big or go home. For the day, think Bud Light seltzers, think fun things, think drones, think a really fun day with good people and a new community that you can be a part of. So really, it's very going to be amazing. Quick Straight Candid moments.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it real fast.
So mine is actually, I think all 4 of you know about this, but have you seen my fingers?
What's wrong with your fingers?
The cuticles?
What am I looking at? Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So do you guys remember me sending you the picture of my fingernails in our Snapchat group? Yeah. Yes. You don't? I sent you guys my nails. So I'm like, I'm fine. It's fine. I'm fine. So I pick up my fingers a lot, which is also why I don't get my nails done looking all pretty like Syd's. Like, I have man hands. We're just not going to look close. So I have a habit of biting my nails, biting my fingernails, biting the cuticles around it.
Ow.
And it gets worse when I'm stressed. And y'all, the last 2 weeks of my life have been, for lack of a better word, I was going to say absolute hell, but like at the same time, I learned a lot, and it was a passion project of mine. We trained at Barry's for their opening that just opened in North Loop, Minneapolis. Barry's is a workout studio. But it was the craziest 2 weeks of my life, and I had to like leave you guys kind of on the back burner, and I just felt horrible about not replying to friends, not replying to you guys as often. And I just picked the shit out of my nails. My mental health was crazy. I had a couple anxiety attacks. It's real. It happens. And I'm better this week because I prioritize sleep, and I'm prioritizing finding time for me, because like I do feel like I'm spreading myself a little too thin. So you have to find, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning to like, I've been meditating, and at night I put my phone down and I make myself read or journal or do something that's not on my phone for 5 minutes. And it literally saved my life the past 2 days. So
good for you for finding the time and getting into your new routine.
Yes.
Seriously. It's important. You have to like check yourself. That's how we do it.
So thank you, Syd, for carrying the team on your back the past 2 weeks. I appreciate you.
I do what I can with a lot of to-do lists.
I appreciate you, baby.
A lot of to-do
lot
lists.
of to-do lists. We can attest to that one. This girl.
You got to keep people on the track.
Jackson's laughing. She's like, hey, Jackson, here's your list. Blah, 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 blah.
Listen.
Hey, we have.
Ben just came in the door. I'm a to-do list freak. Listen, it's up here and it needs to go somewhere else, and we need to do it. So anyway, really quick, my Straight Candid moment. I actually just found out this was my Straight Candid moment the other day. Let me just preface this. So I put some of my winter stuff at home. I'm lucky enough that my family lives in Minnesota. So I sent my scarves and my hats and my cozy things home in a little bin that I have. I have like a little bin because I keep it all there in my room, whatever. And I realized I only had one blanket on the top. I'm like, send it home. So I put it in my mom's car and I sent it on home with her and yada, yada, yada. And I'm sitting here the other day and I'm thinking, and I'm feeling a little spicy, whatever. And I realized that I had purchased, which you'll remember, a vibrating little friend. And by little, I don't mean little at all. A very large vibrating friend that was very intimidating and very scary. And I remember that I put it in the bin with my scarves and my hats. And my mom had sent a photo of her using the bin as a blanket thing. And that means that any minute now, she will be looking through the pile of scarves and hats and find a vibrating friend that has a butterfly on it. It's bright pink and it's very
cute.
large.
It
okay?
sounds cute. Did you name it?
No, I hid it because it was scary. So anyway,
I thought you were going to say
you're red because I
thought you were going to say your mom sent you a photo of the vibrator, which
probably pretended she didn't see it.
Which would have been savage. She just says nothing along with the text.
Just this.
Just a picture of the big pink butterfly, big
Scariness.
boy.
Scary. I don't know.
Big boy. Adam, are you uncomfortable?
Adam's like, the hell is that?
He looked away.
He looked away.
Like, I'm over this.
Anywho, that's my straight candid moment. Just being real with you guys. That happens. Oh, fuck. Okay, pray for me. Anywho, we started this episode super light and high energy because that's who we are as people. But really, this episode is very, it's dark at times. It's very heavy. It's intense. There's many trigger warnings within this episode. This is a trigger warning for anybody listening about suicide and addiction and loss and traumatic events, violence, many things that maybe your ears don't need to hear right now if you're not comfortable with that and you're not ready for it. So this is a trigger warning. Chase and John were on, and it was heavy and it was beautiful at the same time.
Yeah,
in the end,
that was that's a really good wrap up of it. It was heavy, but at the same time, it's like I've never seen such a true love of those two, but also the vulnerability between them and what they shared with us was just amazing. So
something we wouldn't have access to without having other people share the platform with us. Really, you guys, like, we are, straight candid. We are real and we have fun. And we, we talk about taboo things and we're crazy and we're also real, but we are sharing our platform, like, especially in the coming episodes, with people that need to have their voices and their stories heard and that maybe are underrepresented. And this is something that I think a lot of people need to hear. And whether it be, it's a lot about addiction. There's HIV, there's different things. You'll just have to listen for yourself. But if you're out there and you need to hear this and you also maybe need help or somebody you know needs help, please get that help. Please reach out to your friends and family and be there for those people. So trigger warning, there's a lot in this, but if you can listen and stay and listen, it's worth your ears.
It's definitely worth it to the end.
Yeah.
And you guys know, like, we'll have an episode next week with just Syd and I, right? No guests next week. Topics, they vary. So this one, like she said, is a little more heavy. We hope you guys enjoy. And give us your feedback. But without further ado, I think we're ready for them.
I think we're ready for Chase and John.
Bring them on, baby. All right, we're ready to rumble. We got Chase and John in the house.
They're here. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for finding my little house on the block. So it's like I'm out front. You'll see me.
Yeah, I was out there waving, and all of a sudden I heard a cat call, and I'm like, "Excuse me!" And then I see Chase walking down the street.
I was gonna say,
"Hey, Chase, boy, what's up?" All right, you two. Let's just get the voices differentiating here. So, Chase, say your name, who you are, how old you are. Just a little background.
Like a little mini, like your elevator pitch.
Like a social security number.
Okay, sounds good. 47. Just kidding. My name is Chase. I went to high school with Sophie. I went to the University of Minnesota, graduated with a biology degree.
Go Gophs. Sorry, just saying.
Yes.
Go Gophs.
I do HR now, and I'm sober.
Amazing.
Love it. I like the end. Period.
Thanks,
Period.
Chase. I'm John. Went to Hopkins High School, did not complete, have not gone to college. I too am sober, and I work in a restaurant right now.
That's amazing. What restaurant?
The Lowry on Hennepin.
Oh, a really good
love
restaurant.
The Lowry.
Oh, you didn't add that in there, like a really good restaurant.
Yeah, come get mimosa flights.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine. We'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't be drinking them, but I'll serve you them.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Everyone's laughing. Stop laughing. No.
Now we have to. Oh. So obviously Chase and John, they're here to talk about addiction. And they're both sober. And before the episode, they were a little nervous, right? Like, and sometimes we offer our guests a shot or maybe a drink, and Syd accidentally offers them a shot, and there's a good 20 seconds of silence.
I didn't. You guys, I was thinking comfortability. I was like, okay, what do we usually do?
Yeah.
I felt,
She was
and then I was
following
like,
the
oh my
protocol.
God. And my eyes got wide. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no.
That's a good
I'm
segue,
sorry,
though.
But it's a good segue because why you're here, literally, to
Yeah.
talk about who you are as people, who you've become, and to talk about also your background in addiction, a few other pieces that you guys had brought up that we were like, oh my God. We want to make sure that we're giving everybody, every group of people, whether that's who you are, whether that's an experience you've been through, a platform and a space to talk about it. So because everybody out there has something and someone's going to relate to your story.
Yeah.
And we were like wowed by your
Definitely.
story. Sophie and Chase knew each other in high school, right? That's how you met.
Yeah.
Yes.
We go way back. What was it? 8th grade biology? 9th grade?
10th grade.
10th grade. We became
10th grade.
BFFs in biology class.
Yes,
Ayo.
we did.
Chase made fun of me for how many questions I asked because I'm the girl in the front row, like, hands up, hands up.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally. And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a biology major, you said.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're like, you already knew what you were doing. You're like, this bitch.
Chase
yeah.
was a smarty pants.
That's amazing.
Smarty. Okay, so before we even get started, how do you two know each other?
Ooh, give us a date.
Oh, so this is a fun story. So
It's a wonderful story.
when Chase was still at the U and still in college, we both had a run-in at a sober house. So I was 18. It was my first time getting sober. I had just left my first treatment. I moved into this sober house, and about 2 weeks after I moved in, Chase moved in. He had a girlfriend at the time. I had the I had the
interesting.
biggest crush on him. I literally had the biggest crush on him ever. He used to drive me to outpatient treatment, and I'd tell all my little treatment friends about this super cute guy that lived in my house. I was like obsessed. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, I drink, get kicked out, and then don't hear from him for like 3 years until
Yeah.
like
Wait, wow. So you went 3 years without talking to each other.
yes. So like a
Yeah,
little
probably.
over a year ago, I get a message on a gay app, and it's like a body picture, a nice body, and it's just like a
I
message.
hate that
like,
detail.
It's a message that says, "I know you." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
Do
so
tell.
it was just your body and he knew who it was?
No, it
No.
was just.
Oh.
I mean,
Just
I wasn't
his-
out of the
that
closet,
is a
so
freaking
I was
pickup
just
line
like,
though. Ooh,
Hold on.
yeah.
What'd you say?
I was not out of the closet,
Oh,
so I
with
was
the
not about to
photo.
put my face there.
Oh,
Oh.
so you were
So-
kind of saving your privacy right there.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Being sneaky.
And
Yes.
you recognized him from just his body picture?
No, I was like, he messaged me. He was like, "I know you," and I'm like, "Oh, well, like, bet. Who are you?"
Sorry.
Yeah.
So we sent the face picture, and I was like, mind you, like, I'm using at this time, I'm unwell. And he sent me the face picture, and like, I don't remember like a whole bunch of like that whole time in my life. That was kind of like a blurry point. But like, I just remember the one thing, if there's one thing I remember about that day, is like how happy I was when I got that face picture, when he sent me the message and like realized that he was reaching out to me.
Okay, I'm gonna cry.
But he had lied to me, and he was using. So when I went over there, when I left, I blocked him immediately.
You had to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think now that we know how you know each other, let's rewind it back a little bit. And
Yeah.
Chase, we'll start with you. Just kind of your history with addiction and maybe how it started, and share as much to as little detail. The floor is yours, and I think this story is going to be powerful. So just take it away. And this
Wherever-
is for you. This is for you. So
All right.
Wherever your story starts, we're here. We're listening.
So it goes. Well, I mean, it goes back to like high school, right? Like you remember, in high school, I just like from the first time I drank, my friends had to call my parents, and they had to meet them halfway, and one of my friends had to like carry me out of their car and put me in the back of my parents' car, and then they drove me the rest of the way home. And I remember like coming to at the kitchen table, and I'm just like crying, and they were pissed. And then it was like,
your dad scare me, man.
yeah. So it was, I mean, there was some consequences, right? But it was like a long time ago, and it really didn't, stop me. And then there was a time, really like no consequences until it was like uncomfortable enough for me was enough. So like I had a couple of minors. I got taken to detox one night on the way home from a bar at the U, and I was like, I want to leave. Like I blew a .28 or something, and I was like I remember everything, and I was like, I want to go home, and they're like, no. And then they shot some sedative in my butt, and then like the next day I was so out of it.
Oh, wow.
Like I could not even like keep my eyes open. I don't even remember calling my roommates, but they picked me up, and I was like sitting outside of the hospital, and they like brought me home or whatever. And then what was it? In September of 2016 is when I started using drugs. And by New Year's of that year, so New Year's 2017, I was in the hospital. And I was really sick. I was like throwing up, super dehydrated. They couldn't even get an IV in me. at this point I was like 128
Yeah.
pounds.
Is this the picture you showed me one time?
Yeah.
You were just really skinny and
Yeah, where it's like
Yeah.
all collarbones
Yeah.
and yeah.
So it started for you. You knew you kind of had some sort of obsession with drugs or alcohol because it started with alcohol and you just got drunk a lot, or is that it kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember ever not drinking and blacking out.
Okay.
Like
Okay,
I could probably
that's-
count on two hands.
Yeah.
And like I have, roommates who can vouch for that. It was always in excess.
Could I ask a question, even though I want you to continue the story, but that's kind of a part of it. Where we at a point?
Mm-hmm.
Why was it that like drugs became okay? Because like at one point I can remember when alcohol became okay in my mind. You know what I mean? And then weed became okay.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, cocaine was okay for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, why do you have any idea of why that like it kind of went from the drinking, and then you welcome drugs in, and however much or little you want to share, or if you have an idea.
Yeah, I don't know, but I remember making those jokes, right? Like, I'll never do this. I'll never do this. And then I like found myself literally doing that. Yeah. And it was just always like rationalization. It was like, I think a little bit of it was like, like a willingness to experiment and just try different things. But like a lot of it was just, I was really uncomfortable, And like, I mean, I came out about a year ago.
Did that uncomfortability come with because of the fact that you were gay and you weren't out of the closet yet, or what was the uncomfortableness coming from, do you think?
I think that was part of it.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I think that was part of the segue into the drugs, because there's such a bad, like the drugs in the gay community with sex and like everything is so bad.
I didn't know that.
See,
Yeah.
this is when we were prepping for this episode a little bit. She gave me just a little detail, like, because I didn't want to know much at all, but I had no idea. Like, we really both were like, wow, I had no idea that was a part of the community, in a part of that community. You know what I mean? Like a percent of a percent.
Yeah, and again, like I guess I know a pretty niche community. Obviously, like people I used with, and then people who are now sober and like their experiences. But it's a lot, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
A lot of that. We'll pick up wherever you were left off in that one point. Like, so now you're through detox, and it's you're
Yep.
waking up in the hospital, and you're using drugs at
Yep.
this rate. Like, what happens from here?
Yeah, I mean, it was like when I left detox, it was, I mean, I don't ever remember even thinking like, wow, I need to slow down. Like, never crossed my mind. It was just like, wow, this sucks. Slept it off. And like my grades suffered. I almost got kicked out of the U twice
Holy
for
crap.
And
my
you're
GPA.
smart.
Yeah. I mean, when I apply myself, yeah.
When you want to be. Yeah.
And so, but then like fast forward to September 2016 was when I started like using hard drugs. And then New Year's 2017, I was in the hospital. And that was when I was like 128 pounds and I was super sick, and they had like no idea. And I ended up having an intestinal parasite is what they ended up like figuring out. But it's like something that most people can get and their body fights it off. Okay. And so that's when they started like doing some tests for HIV, because it's only people who have like a compromised immune system. And I remember like the doctor came back and he asked my parents to leave the room, and I was like,
Oh God.
like, we've been sitting here
shit.
like talking about everything this whole time, like everything. And he asked them to leave. And then he told me
Told you.
that I have HIV.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And there's like 3 questions they ask in the hospital. They ask you if you have been sleeping with sex workers. They ask you if you're gay or if you use IV drugs. And I just denied everything. And like, there's no logic, right? Like, there's no other way. It's not coming from a toilet seat. Like
They're like,
he
you're
knew.
not fooling me. Yeah.
He knew, but I just denied everything. So
Why do you think you denied? You didn't want help yet?
yeah, I mean, I didn't want help. I didn't want to stop using drugs. I also wasn't ready to come out.
Yep.
I
That's
think,
with your parents the other side of the room.
Yep, and I didn't want to like have to deal with like the stigma around that. Like, like HIV was going to be bad enough, right? And that's what I did for like a really long time, is I told everybody it was like from the drugs. Like that was like my line, because I, again, still wasn't out. Yeah. But like you know, there were certain people that I had to tell. And then like I was pretty open with like friends. And so I told people, and that is like what I stuck to. Like truthfully, I don't know how I got it. It could have been drugs, it could have been like sex, I don't know. Yeah. But like that was like, even then it's like I have the diagnoses and I'm still holding on to like lying to myself, telling myself that it's like, oh, I got it this way, so then I'll feel better, you know? And so that was 3 months into me, you know, using IV drugs. And then I was only using for about a year.
Okay.
And then, so September 2017, and then I was in treatment.
Really? How did you get to treatment?
Oh, I was really miserable. Like I was finally uncomfortable enough with it myself. Like I was going to bed every single night and like wanting to die, but being too afraid to like do anything about it, you know? So it's just like a really like shitty place to be.
Would you say this was probably the rock bottom then before you went to treatment? Or do you have a different rock bottom?
No, I would say that like to get to treatment, that was my rock bottom, right? But I think I think we always like in order to grow, we have to hit like different bottoms in different areas. And then it's like, you know, with specific behaviors, it's like, oh, okay, like I'm uncomfortable with this. And then you grow. So it was like with the drugs and alcohol, like that was kind of it, you know?
And before we get into the treatment, can we go back to like what it felt like and the feeling you had when the doctor told you about HIV? And I also want to like destigmatize parts of HIV that I know you told me about when we met for coffee the other day, just because I think it's an important conversation to have. And I was unknowledgeable about the subject. So if you can share some HIV facts and kind of how you felt and how you transitioned into accepting that, I think it'd be really helpful.
Yeah. So when I was told, I don't think there was really, like I wasn't surprised, right? And I think that's kind of what scared my parents, because I didn't really react. Like I knew everything that was going on. I knew how high risk. So I wasn't really surprised. And they're like, you know, I was working at a group home for adults with autism at the time, and my dad doesn't know a lot about like medicine. And he was like, you're going to have to quit your job. Is autism contagious? And I was like, no, God. Like, oh wow. Yeah. Like they don't know anything about like any of that. Right. So like that was their first thought, is like, they're obviously coming from like a parent's point of view, and they're like super worried, like, you know, like what do we have to do to keep you healthy?
Well, you know, like that was supportive though. That had to feel good too, though, that no matter what, they were just like, they were there. They were like, we just want you healthy.
Yeah. And they also didn't ask a lot of questions, right? You know, they weren't like trying to get down to like, how did this happen? Because like it happened somehow and I wasn't telling anybody. So like they could have pushed and been like, you know, are you gay? Are you using drugs? Like they could have really pushed, and it was just like, we all just kind of accepted it and moved forward, which was great at the time. But I think it kept me comfortable in like the denial. Yes. Like, cause like nobody was talking about it. It was just like, okay, let's like move forward and just, this is the new reality. We won't talk about it. But it's like, how political can I get on here?
You can as political as you want.
Whatever you want to do, you can go there. We want your story supported, and we want destigmatization of this. Yeah. And I have to say, even when I was in school, I can remember 5th probably grade, it was used, talking about HIV and AIDS jointed together. Yeah. 1. And 2, it was used as a scare tactic to not have unprotected sex. I remember that, and I was like, and like I've met somebody with HIV before too. Like it's common. Like it's more common than anybody thinks. And I'm not going to steal your thunder or your story, but I just had to throw that out there because I think that supports like what you want to say and what you want to tell.
Yeah. So I think it's like similar with addiction, right? It was like back in the 80s or whatever. It was like the war on drugs. When it was like crack cocaine, it was like that was the war on drugs. And then all of a sudden, it's like opiates are coming in, right? And there's like the opioid crisis, and it's an epidemic, right? It's like a war when it's on like crack cocaine and the people that use crack cocaine, and then when it's like, you know, the white kids that are like addicted to painkillers after getting them with like a sports injury, it's like now it's an epidemic, like it's a disease. It's like it changes. And that's the thing. It's like, look in this last year, like how quickly they were able to like come up with a vaccine, right? It's like when everybody is affected, but when it's like, you know, primarily like people of color and gay people that are like being affected by this, is like there's not like the resources, there's not like nobody's doing anything about it, you know. If
We've known about it for so long and nobody's acting.
Right, you know, and it's like until it starts affecting like the children of the politicians and like the people with the money and the influence, it's like
I have goosebumps.
Like nothing's gonna happen, you know. And I know I think they are going to like clinical trials for a vaccine from the COVID-19 like vaccine research. So there's like things happening, but it's like we're quite capable of like if we want to like, you know, come up with these things. If we want to put the resources there, like we can do it. It's just like they don't want to, you know. Man. And it's just like how it's talked about, right? It's just like it's crazy.
Is there a big community that you're a part of with HIV, and like how did that come about? Because you just got diagnosed. Now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were like, "Oh, you should like join a support group or something," and I was just like ready to forget all about it. It's like I'll take my medication and we're just gonna pretend it never happened. And that's kind of what I did. And I have not. I mean, this is like my first and like biggest platform like talking about this on.
Thank you for sharing.
Like,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like a lot of my friends know, my family knows, and all of this. But there's, you know, I've just never like openly talked about it. I've never like embraced like that part of the gay community either. And like, granted, like I haven't, you know, been out for super long, like just a year. But yeah, it's like I think outside of the gay community, it's like really scary how quickly like the misinformation about HIV spreads. It's like I think gay people are like pretty good at like, you know, understanding like the risk and what it means to be like medicated and undetectable. And like,
can you share that just with the listeners? So like, what are some of the misinformations that is being spread about and what debunks it, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think like, so like the reason it's like seen as like a gay drug, right? Or not drug, a gay disease is because of just like how it's spread. Like it's just like the mode of transmission, you know? And so it's like for women to women, it's the least. You know, so there's like statistics where it's like somebody untreated in their lifetime, like a woman would give it to another person like once every 7 years. And then like, you know, a man would give it to a woman once every 5 years, but then men to men, and the way like men have sex and anal sex, it's like it happens much quicker. So it's like every 3 years. So then it's like men and men, and it's like it kind of, you can just see how it like progresses through that community way quicker than it's going to with like men and women or
women and women.
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
What does it actually like entail? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like what is that? Because I think that's what people are curious. They're like, because like I said, I was scared away from it almost. Like they're like, oh, don't have unprotected sex. Like you could get it, which you just debunked and like how you could. But what's it actually entail having it?
And the medication, what does that do? Are you and John able to still get jiggy with it? Like
Jiggy
give
with
us,
it?
give us,
Absolutely.
Yes.
absolutely.
That's what,
So,
those are
like-
the types of things the
Yeah.
debunkers, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like part of the misinformation or like the lack of understanding is that like if you have HIV, like the medication and like what it means to be undetectable isn't really talked about. So like what that means is if you take your antiretrovirals, whether it's 1, whether it's 2, whether it's 3, whatever regimen your doctor has you on, and you take it consistently for a period of time, your viral load will then get to a place where like it's not detectable in your bloodstream. And once you reach an undetectable place, you cannot transmit it through sex. Like at all. It's not like approved. Like, I mean, they haven't studied enough with like IV drug use. So like, let's say like Chase was using and like I used whatever he used and like the mode of transportation was there. He wasn't taking his meds or he was taking his meds. I mean, yeah, whatever. It's not studied like with transmission through IV drugs, but
So if he takes the medicine, you can still be diagnosed with HIV, but it's impossible to transfer it because it's keeping those blood cells in check.
Extremely
sex,
unlikely,
yes.
but you can't say impossible because it's like they say they'd say tested, but it's impossible. It's impossible,
So
right?
they actually did the CDC like 6 years ago or something, like came out and said like an undetectable viral load, which basically means like the number of copies in the virus per millimeter of blood is like not able to be detected by like what we have for like scientific testing, right? So when I went into the hospital, mine was like 3 million copies per milliliter, like when I was like in the hospital at my sickest.
Yes.
And now it's like I've been undetectable for years, and like the testing is like less than 20. So from 3 million to less than 20. And so the CDC said like once you are there, it is untransmittable. Like it is impossible to spread it through sex. And then I even heard one of my doctors said, he said, what's interesting is you have a higher risk of getting HIV from like sleeping with a partner who hasn't recently been tested than you do with sleeping with somebody who is HIV positive and on medication. Because at least the person you know, they're HIV positive and they can't spread it because they're medicated. But the tiny, tiny, tiny like chance that the person you're sleeping with has got it since they were last tested and sleeping with you is higher. The risk is zero.
Wow.
It's zero.
The risk is zero. Yeah.
Wow. See, that's what I was trying to get at.
That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wow.
It is amazing.
Well, in health.
Thank God for medication, right?
Seriously.
Swear.
And as far as health wise, we won't like dig and bug you and pry you with all these questions, but health wise, how is your health? You know what I mean? Because that's what we don't. I mean, I don't know enough either. I'm not as educated in it. What?
I love the whole time that Chase has been sharing his story.
What?
John has been rubbing his back, like supporting him and grabbing his knee, and it makes me want to cry.
I know, I'm like, their love is so obvious. Okay.
And then we'll finish up with your treatment story, and then we'll get to you, John.
Okay.
Yeah, we're coming, John. Don't worry.
No
coming
rush.
for you.
No rush.
It's pretty normal. Like, you know, there's a little bit of a higher risk, like with COVID, you know, I was working from home because it's just like, you know, there is a little bit of a higher risk. I've been like typically more prone to like things like pneumonia, like where people don't really get that.
Yeah.
You know, but like I've gotten it a few times, but it's like, it's nothing major. You know, it's like I'm pretty healthy. And it all really, like, the way it works, right, is like there's the number of copies in your blood, and then what it attacks is like your CD4 cells, which are basically like your immune cells. And so that number is what like gets low, and that's why you get more sick. And so you get below, I think it's what, 200?
Yeah, below 200, and then you have AIDS.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the difference, is just how weakened like your immune system has become, how much the virus has done in like attacking your CD4 cells.
Man.
And like you can reach an AIDS diagnosis, like you can have under 200 units, and then, you know, become undetectable. You can get on medication, but at that point, like still you have an AIDS diagnosis for the rest of your life. Like once you hit AIDS, you're never just going to be HIV positive again.
Man.
Which is weird because the CD4 cells can go back above 200,
but then you still have that diagnosis?
If they've ever been below 200, it's considered AIDS.
Whoa, that's
Learn
interesting to me.
something new every day.
Yeah, wow.
We're learning some sciencey things here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what's behind it. That's what it is.
Okay. So moving on with your treatment. So now you're in treatment. Did you go to an what is it called?
Inpatient.
Rehab.
Yes.
There we go.
What were you trying to say? Infrastructure?
That was like an in-person, inpatient. There it was.
Inpatient. Yes, yes, yes.
Inpatient, outpatient. It came to my tip of my tongue there. So go on to that, and like what was rehab like, and day to day there.
We were actually, so when he was in the sober house like 2 weeks before me, because he had just gotten out of where I was an inpatient. And so like we just missed each other in inpatient. And then we lived together for a short time at the sober house, and then he was back in inpatient again, like right after. So I went down to a place in Owatonna, and I was there for 28 days, I think. And
that's a long time, actually.
At this point, your parents knew.
Yes.
And your girlfriend knew.
That I was using drugs,
and that you were using drugs of some sort. Okay.
Yep. So I went and saw a counselor at the U, the person that actually had to do my chemical health assessment after I went to detox, because I was picked up by like the University of Minnesota police. And so I had to like do all that. And obviously when I did the chemical health assessment, I like lied to her, and she's like, oh, he's fine. This is like a fluke. He just drank too much that night. So then I come like, you know, crawling back with my tail between my legs to her. And I'm like, actually I have a huge problem. And I'm like, you know,
so
I need
you
help.
admitted this.
Yes.
You were ready to admit. Then you were like, I actually need to get some support because I can't do this on my own.
Yep. And so I saw her so I told the person I was dating at the time, I think on a Tuesday. My parents came down on Thursday, and we like all talked with the counselor, and then I was in inpatient by Saturday. So it all happened in like 5 days.
Wow.
And so, I mean, inpatient treatment is quite a bit different. The one I went to was, I mean, there was like horses and shit.
Wait, what?
I was
Yeah.
waiting for you to say that.
I do, because you were like, there's something funny. I'm like, what is it?
He goes, they wanted me to pet horses, and I would just, what was your excuse?
I tried telling them that I was allergic to horses.
No one would know that unless you had a horse. Like, have you had a horse? You're like, no.
Yeah, and they're like, we don't believe you.
Yeah.
Like, we're,
So
yeah.
they make you go pet horses?
Yeah, and it was like the longest. So like your day's very structured, and you have like different classes and things, and it was 2 hours.
The longest.
You guys both can talk about this, actually. I
Yeah.
want to
No,
hear
it was
both
so
your
stupid.
experiences.
We were
Like,
both there.
Yeah, like no, they'd ask you like, how do you think the horse is feeling right now? Like, why do you think the horse is eating grass? Like, it's literally hungry. Like,
It was weird.
What were they trying to reprogram, I wonder? But I mean, it
I
was
think
a
they're
part of
trying to
it.
like have you project.
Oh, project emotion and action, maybe?
Like, it's literally just a horse.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean,
It's like, it's
it,
just
it
hungry,
probably
man.
could have worked, but I was so sick of it, and I was just not having it, and so. But that's yeah.
So what was helpful in those inpatient rehab programs? Like, did you meet with different counselors throughout the day? Did you have an alarm clock? Did you all eat breakfast together? Like, I'm just curious.
I'm almost asking, like, why is it that you stopped? Because you stopped and you went to rehab and you got that help. Like, why?
He did. He stopped at that one.
At that one.
For a
Okay,
period of
the
time.
specific one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's get to that.
Go ahead.
No.
What made you stop?
What made? No, we'll talk about that
Okay.
later. We'll talk about that later.
I already know where that's going. I can tell. And that literally makes my heart pitter patter. Okay.
So I guess it was just. It's nice to be away, like you were separated, right? You're separated from the drugs and alcohol. So that was helpful because there was many times that I tried to stop using drugs on my own. Like I realized it was a problem long before like I ever sought help, and I just couldn't stop. And then I could stop like the drugs for a little bit, but the second I drank, like then it was drugs too. And I was never able to like convince myself that like alcohol was also a problem.
Okay.
You know, even though that's exactly what it led to and I knew it was going to.
So I have a question that a listener wrote in that's a question for both of you, kind of relating to that. So do you think that it does have to be like black and white, you cut out all substances, or do you think that people can eventually find a balance with other substance in the future?
So I think that's like a really individualized question. I think
Okay.
there's like, I mean, for me, and understanding the way I use substances, that like I just need to soothe something that I feel is like wrong with me, like because that's why I'm using. Like I feel like I'm not good enough, or there's something inside me that like feels uncomfortable. So like that's typically why I'm using. And like with that knowledge and like understanding of like this is why I'm using whatever substance I pick up. No matter what, no matter how long it is, I mean, it's going to lead right back to the pattern of use that I was using it. So like, I mean, there could be people that just like drink in excess for a little bit, take some time off, and then like pick it back up. But like, who am I to say like that their drinking is alcoholic? I can only speak for myself.
And I liked how you answered that.
Yeah, awesome. What do you think, Chase?
I can't.
Yeah.
I know I can't because I've tried.
Yeah.
And I would say in my experience, you know, people are using substances for something. So even if you can use in like not excess, you know, why are you going back to something? You know, so let's say somebody was like using drugs and alcohol, they go to treatment, and now, you know, they're just smoking weed, but it's constantly, but they're not really seeing, you know, consequences. And so, you know, they just do that for a long period of time. And it's like you were using the drugs and alcohol to soothe something. Like, obviously, you know, people don't just use drugs and alcohol. And I think it's really hard once you admit you have a problem to ever like take that back, right? So like you go to get help, and then it's like, you know, everybody knows and you've sought help, and now it's like you can't just say, actually, I don't have a problem. And for me, it's like really uncomfortable too, because once I said like I had a problem, then it was like there was guilt every time I thought about it. Or when I like relapsed and was using drugs and alcohol, like there was a lot of guilt that I had never felt before
Man.
because I never like tried to stop. But once I like made that common knowledge, and it's like anytime I used again, it was just like very uncomfortable.
How many times did you relapse?
So I started smoking weed right when I got out of outpatient, and then I started I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
And then I started drinking again at a wedding, and it was like 2 weeks after that, I was back to drugs so fast.
So it got you there quickly.
Yeah.
You started using using any sort of
Yeah.
thing that you were addicted to.
Yeah, and I knew
Yeah.
that. You know, I knew that, but I still convinced myself like, okay, I can smoke weed, and then it was like drinking's okay. Like eventually I got to the point where drinking was like gonna be okay, and it wasn't. You know, and that lasted probably about 2 months, and then I was sober again, and I was I've not used drugs and alcohol for a really long time, but I was on some prescriptions, some anti-anxiety, antidepressants. And, for like the first year and a half, really like the first 2 years of my sobriety, like I was using those in excess, like I was taking multiple. And, when I say like in excess, I mean like I'm prescribed 2 and I take a handful of 30,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm still so uncomfortable. And like this whole time I'm not out of the closet still, right? Like I am free of the drugs and alcohol, now. And, I'm still not out. I'm still not comfortable with myself. I'm still not being honest to anybody,
You're still stuck with you.
Yeah.
Which is like the
Which
hardest
is what
part.
you were feeling.
It's like you're
too,
stuck.
right?
It's the hardest part.
It's like you're stuck in your own skin.
Yes.
So what made you decide to come out, and how did that feel?
Tell him, Chase.
So
Without leading into what we'll talk about later.
yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe do you want to talk about his story? Because that kind of overlaps
okay.
first
We'll
before.
pause there then.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
because
then
if it comes back,
Yep.
John, we need to hear from
it's
you.
gonna come back around. Hi, John. Welcome back
Hi,
to
thank you
Straight
for
Candid
having me.
Podcast with Syd Soph.
Well,
Hi.
ask me questions.
Okay, well, first of all, I had 3 questions, but I kept holding them because I'm like, I want to get to John's story too.
Sorry.
No, I was like, that's why I'm like, Sophie.
Oh, that's why you were
that's
tapping
why I was
me.
tapping you.
You're like, Sophie, shut up. Let's
No,
get to John.
Usually we try to go every other, but I'm like, you had a lot of really good ones that I wanted to ask too. So, anywho, doesn't matter. John, I have a question for you before we even jump into your story, because
right.
it's a part of your story.
Okay.
Do you think that you would have stopped using at the times you did if you didn't get caught?
Absolutely not.
No.
No chance.
Okay.
Nope.
No chance.
So that's the one question. And the other question is, maybe I'll let you get your story in, because this will come a little towards the end, because it's about friends and family and support. So, because it's a lot of listeners asked a specific question. So I want to hear your story. You take it away from whatever part you want to start at, and we'll get to the how you two met and all that jazz too.
Sounds good, because
Okay.
that's like the best part of the story.
I know, that's what I'm waiting for.
Wait,
I'm like,
listeners, wait
Oh,
around.
closer? Sweet. Okay. So again, I'm John. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Thank you for coming.
We'll start way back at the beginning in my childhood. So I grew up with both parents as alcoholics. My dad was a crack addict. My mom was an alcoholic. She had 20 plus years of recovery later. But my mom and dad got divorced when I was 18 months. My dad was like sleeping with sex workers and smoking crack, and he wasn't good to me, or not even me. He wasn't good to my mom, or really anybody. He was a really sick guy. So my mom took me, one of the dogs, because we had 2 dogs. We had like this beautiful house on Medicine Lake in Plymouth with the boat and the 4-wheelers and all that stuff. So she basically just like packed a backpack, took me and a dog, and found this little place in St. Louis Park, where we were at for a little bit. So how that looked is like when my mom left, she took full custody of me, like knowing that my dad was in active addiction and like unwell. She had to bear the full responsibility of like being a single mother with also owning a business, working full time, and then like finding a place to live with a toddler and a dog, So right around my 2nd birthday, my stepdad came into my life. My mom got this beautiful house in Golden Valley, which is where I ended up growing up. Closer? Okay. And the day after my 2nd birthday, my mom and stepdad met each other. He was moving into the house that she was moving out of to move to Golden Valley. And then we ended up becoming a blended family. But in the meantime, my dad was getting like supervised visitation because there were court documents drawn up because of the behaviors he was exhibiting. like moving further down the line, my dad was very like in and out of recovery. Like he'd get sober for a little bit, collect some sober time, and then, it would just all fall away. It would just crumble to pieces, which is like kind of like foreshadowing what it's going to look like for me. Cause like, yeah, that's kind of my experience too. Like I wish it was just like a one and done type thing. Yeah. I wish I could have like learned from that experience. And like, you'd think, growing up, like seeing how devastating addiction can be to a family, like that would be like off-putting. And like I remember for a certain time, like all through middle school, like it was right, like I'd be like, no, like drugs are a no never.
So you knew what was going on with your dad or
I mean like with my father. I didn't actively know. I could only kind of piece it together, but I don't know how deep you want me to dive into some of this stuff, but like I mean, there were some terrible things happening. Like my mom has a story where like she like watched my dad light his face on fire with a blowtorch trying to smoke crack. Like, I mean, like craziness, right? Like, and stuff like this, like when I say that, like I see your faces like this, like it doesn't even like feel like it's that crazy for me sharing that. Cause like, this is like the lifestyle that like I know. And like, these are similar to the things that like I would find as normal in my active addiction. That's what my 21 years of life so far has looked like. Like, right? Like, oh, like lighting your face on fire with a blowtorch. That's normal. Like that's nothing. That's like Tuesday.
Oh my God. I'm not even gonna, I don't have anything.
Our eyeballs said it all. We both just went
like shocked, like just shocked. And I'm sorry that that was your reality. And but
don't be sorry. Cause like, if I didn't have these experiences, I probably wouldn't be the person who I am today. And like, for the most part, like I kind of like who I am.
You should.
And like it takes some trials and tribulations to like, the grass is always greener, right? Mm-hmm. Like I go through these struggles, and like maybe in me saying something like this on this podcast, one of the viewers will like have a similar experience, and like me sharing like how I overcame all of this can be helpful.
100%.
That's why we share the platform with other people and people like you, because that's what we want. And it might not be them. It might be a sibling or a best friend or a distant friend or a relative or a parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's for everybody. But continue wherever you want to continue.
So we'll fast forward a little bit. We'll like move up to like elementary school times, and like that's when like I really started to realize that like maybe I wasn't like everybody else. In the sense that there was this second grader in my class. He had a little bowl cut, and I just thought he was like the cutest thing in the world. I'm like,
oh, I love it. Like a little
had like
the
biggest crush.
On the bowl cut, boy.
The bowl cut. We loved a bowl cut. I had a bowl cut too.
We loved a good bowl cut.
Not at that time.
Syd definitely had a bowl cut.
You would have had a crush on me. That's for freaking sure.
Maybe not.
She looked like a boy.
No. I was mistaken many times by my genders. I'm not kidding. Oh yeah.
An androgynous queen.
Us, honey.
No. So like fast forwarding. Like I enter middle school, complete elementary school. I start middle school. Like I'm a pretty good student. Like, I mean, like I'm by no means like a biology major at like the U, like straight A's. Like I didn't get a scholarship out of high school. No, but like for like 7th and 8th grade, cause I went to Hopkins, which is like 7th through 9th grade is middle school, but like technically 9th grade is still freshman year of high school. And then 10th through 12th grade is high school. So 7th and 8th grade, I did pretty well. Like I was on the B honor roll for those years. Like I thought I did something, and then like 9th grade comes around, and the first day of 9th grade, I'll mention I like wasn't hanging around with like the most normal kids, right? Like I mean, like I found like I like thought I was like a scene kid, and I was seen.
Go what?
A scene kid.
What does that mean?
Like rawr, XD,
like
scene.
Oh, okay. I got it.
I was actually kind of confused too.
I was with the scene queens.
The scene queens.
So first day of freshman year, which mind you, from my experience is still middle school. I'm on the bus going home, and my friends ask me like if I want to go hang with Mary Jane. And I'm like, oh, who's that? Like Mary Jane.
Like 9th grade.
I haven't met her.
No idea.
Yeah, no idea. So they get off the bus. I realize I'm going to smoke weed for the first time.
Oh, I didn't know what that was. Okay, I get it.
Scene queen over here. Like,
I was waiting for a person named Mary Jane.
Sartell moment.
14 and
Like, oh,
26.
man.
You find out.
Yeah, I guess I figured out when I'm 26, Mary Jane is a code word for weed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
you
All
didn't
right.
actually know
No,
this?
I
For
did
real?
not. Nope.
Okay, continue.
That's
So like
awkward.
I smoked weed for the first time that day, and like I remember a lot of people say like, oh, like I didn't feel weed the first time I smoked it, but like I felt it. And like from like the first time I smoked weed, I was like, oh, like this is an issue. Like this is a problem. Cause like, I mean, like at that point, like I wasn't out. I'm a freshman in high school. Very uncomfortable with myself, like always wanting to please everybody, like constantly needing, like searching for validation, which I mean, like is still true. Like I love validation. Regardless, yeah, I knew it was going to be a problem. And then like that same year I tried alcohol, I drank for the first time. And like, I mean, that was problematic by the end of my freshman year. Well, we'll not go that far. So like middle of my freshman year of high school, I had like this really long swoopy hair. I thought it was it. I also had like
the way he said it.
I know.
This really long, swoopy hair.
yeah, it was a moment for me. So this is kind of an interesting part of the story, like especially if we're gonna focus a little bit on like sexuality. So like I realized, or like I finally came to terms, if you could call it that, with like the fact that like I'm gay, or like I didn't like put a label on it, right? Like I knew that like somewhere in there that like I had an attraction to guys. So I drafted this tweet.
Oh gosh.
Drafted up this tweet, and I'm at my dad's house in Plymouth on the lake. So like that kind of, we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about that. But I ended up just like saying like, fuck it, and tweeted it.
Yeah.
And
You
then
said
like,
I'm gay?
yeah, I just said like, hey, like I'm gay. Like,
All right.
but like
yeah.
it was like
Power move.
it was like really wordy. I mean, like it was a lot more than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Because I like to make everything like a spectacle, a show.
Yes.
All the attention has to be on me.
I'm the same way. It's fine.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
okay.
So so I tweeted it, and like there was like I don't know if any other like LGBT viewers can relate to this, but like before that tweet, and there were so many more like gay slurs. Like people would like comment on my Facebook photos in like 7th grade, be like, oh, like you F slur, like all that stuff, you know, like just shaming me. But like once that tweet was posted, like those same people that like wanted to call me those names were like, oh, we're so proud of you, like da da da, like
Oh, you. I'm sorry, but okay. I mean, great that you're being positive and supportive, but be there from the beginning.
yeah, like
Jesus.
what is this?
Ew.
Like
Yeah.
what a switch up.
Bandwagon.
Yeah, like I love my
Bandwagon.
fans. Thank
yeah,
you.
Thank you. Hey.
Thank you for
Hater,
the favorite
lover,
on
whatever.
Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, either way, you're engaging, so.
Swear. And then like I came to school, and like I had to make some like super dramatic story about like how I posted this tweet, because like I couldn't let people know that like I was finally comfortable, because like that's too much. So I told them that I had like drafted up this tweet and I was proofreading it, and I fell down the stairs and my finger happened to click the tweet button.
That
as I
was your
falling.
story?
That was my story.
You
And I'm sticking.
High school.
I'm sticking to it. That's what happened.
All right. That's what happened.
That's a true story.
That's
he
a true
told
story.
his whole class that. We're going to go with it.
We're going with
Yep.
it. We're rolling with it.
That's what happened. So that was my freshman year of high school. Not in the high school yet. I moved to the high school. Actually, well, summer between my freshman and sophomore year. I found this really fun beach at the time. It was super underground. It's not actually. It was hidden beach, where like it was just like a way to for me to access drugs. Because like by the end of freshman year, I was like filling up. I don't know if you guys know like the little Gatorade bottles. You can get them at like in big 24 packs, 48 packs in Costco.
Yeah.
So around that time, my parents had started bringing alcohol into the house. So I would drink a Gatorade, and then I would fill the water bottle with like their Grey Goose, or the Gatorade bottle with Grey Goose, and then I'd go to middle school, and then I'd drink it with my friends before class,
During the day.
like
At
7 in the
school?
morning.
At school.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Crap. Okay.
Yeah,
Can
like
you
in the hallway
imagine
at
like
school.
us doing that?
Oh my God. Sartell would have a heyday.
Like at that, I mean, like I did what I did, right? But at that age, it was
Yeah.
like I was terrified.
oh,
I don't
same.
need
I
your
was not
judgment.
even. I
Yeah,
was-
no judgment here. I'm not judging. I'm just
I
like
mean,
bringing it
wow,
back
yeah.
to that age.
Okay.
yeah.
Did your parents know?
No,
Yeah.
no.
So then, what came next? Because
So what came next was like my first love. my first love was Xanax. So I was at Hidden Beach. It was the day after my 14th or 15th birthday. I just bought like an ounce of like mid weed, and like I went back into the woods, and like I was gonna roll 2 joints with a friend. We were gonna match, and then she pulled out a bag of pills. And she had Klonopin and Xanax, and she took one of them, and I was like, "Oh, what'd you take?" And she's like, "Klonopin." And I was like, "Oh, can I have one?" She's like, "No, but you can have this one," and gave me a bar of Xanax, and she told me to chew it up. And never having tried it, I chewed it up, and I was like, "Oh, this is so disgusting." So I'm like running around like looking for something to drink, and then another girl's like, "Oh, I have this," and pulls out a bag of wine. So I just start guzzling. So the next thing I know, I am waking up in my bedroom. It's light out. I have no idea what happened. I don't know what day it is. I don't know if it's the same day. I don't know if it's like a day later, 3 days later. And my mom came into this is like the insanity of my addiction. My mom came into my room and she was like, "What were you on last night?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What were you on last night?" And I was like, What happened?" So I guess
How old were you?
I think I was 15,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
which is like super scary.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So my mom then tells me that I had fallen asleep at the kitchen table with my family present, with like spaghetti hanging out of my mouth.
Oh, wow.
And like the insanity part is like, I mean, like I don't remember anything. I don't remember any of it. So I'm like, oh, like I don't remember what that drug feels like. So I need to try it again.
Oh,
I like
interesting.
I can't like, because it goes back to like elementary school. Like I remember when we did like drug ed, like they showed like the acid tabs in the book, and I was like from like elementary school, I was like, I need to do that.
You knew that when you were in elementary school,
Oh my
sitting
God,
looking at them?
absolutely. I was like, this is me. This is for me.
See, that was one of my questions too, is like, why did it seem okay? You know what I mean? Like, why, like, but it was more in your mind, it was a curiosity thing, even though they had shame around them.
Yeah. I mean, like, and especially coming to like an age where like I started to realize what like was going on in my actual family. And like I had already started the process. Like I had smoked weed and like drank. It was like, okay, well, like now this, like, it's like curiosity killed the cat, like almost quite literally. We'll get to that later in my story. So the Xanax use continued all throughout high school.
How do you get your hands on Xanax as a young 15-year-old? Like that blows my mind.
Was it who you surrounded yourself with, do you think, at all?
Yeah, and it was a lot. I mean, it's a lot easier than you think, like in a like a suburban school.
Interesting.
I mean, like people that you would not expect to be on Xanax at my high school were on Xanax.
Wow.
And like, I don't know, like when you think of Xanax, I see like Real Housewives, like, and they're like, that's like their happy pill, right? But like, that wasn't me. That was not me. That was me like going to school, falling asleep on my desk, drooling.
Oh my God.
Like that's what Xanax was for me. And like, how could that be enjoyable? I mean, there's no like real enjoyment of the experience other than the fact that like, I don't have to feel all of this anxiety, all of this self-hatred, all of this insecurity. Like that's where the fun was. It's like, I don't have to think.
For you as a relief.
Absolutely.
So you're through high school basically at this point. I mean, this is only a few years ago because you're 21, right?
Yes.
And it gatewayed you to something else. Was it the people you were around, or was it like, you know what I mean? Like what is that part of your story?
So like, I mean, like the people who, not all of them, but a lot of the people who were doing Xanax around my age group, like they too didn't stop at Xanax. So me being 16, so I'm 16 when this story happens. I go over to a friend's house, and I mean, like I come over there, I'm buying Xanax, I'm on Xanax, and like, then like a meth pipe starts getting passed around. And like, again, like what Xanax was for me is like, I don't care. Like everything is okay. Like I can't even think about the consequences of like what could happen. And like partially is like, it's because I think like my experience will be different. I am terminally unique, where like I can pick up this meth pipe and like never think about it again, because like I'll be able to put it down because I'm different. And that was the case for a long time. Like I was on so much Xanax, I hit this meth pipe once or twice and like felt a little, and then went home back to my parents' house and slept, because like I didn't really get anything from it because I was on so much Xanax. But like later, we have to talk about one thing before we get into like my like really troublesome use. So my senior year of high school, what caused me to drop out is because At the time, I had a really good friend who was dating another friend of mine. We made music together for a little bit. And it was her 18th birthday. She had like moved out of her parents' house, and she was living with him. And the plan was that it was like a Friday night, or maybe it was a Thursday night. Yeah, it was a Thursday night. I was supposed to, at this point, I'd already dropped out, or like I was doing online school, but I could not find the motivation to do it. Just like the worst decision ever. But so I go to sleep. Or no, they're gonna come pick me up to celebrate her 18th birthday. I'm gonna go spend the night there, and like I never get the call that they're coming. So I'm like, I go out into the kitchen. I'm like, Mom, I'm fucking pissed. Like they ditched me. Like what is going on? So I wake up the next morning. It's like a Twitter DM, and another friend of mine's like, did you hear what happened last night? And I'm like, no, what happened? And she sends a news article. Not apparently, this actually happened. Their apartment had gotten broken into, and he had been shot in the head that night. So like, there was like a robbery because the boyfriend of my friend who was turning 18 had people over the night before, and he had like taken some of her prescriptions. And then she went back there to get him back, and she reached out to like see if he had them, and he said he didn't have them because he wanted to sell them. So they got together a group of people, 4 guys and then the 2 girls, and the 2 guys went up to the door. The girls knocked, and then they barged in, put guns to both of their head, brought Corey into the bedroom, shot him in the head, and then left the other girl, the girl who was celebrating her 18th birthday, there in the apartment to like watch him bleed out. So like after that, I mean like I should mention that 4 days after it happened, while it was like still kind of an active crime scene, I went there to help my friend get all of her belongings out of the apartment. Their family had brought like all of their cars. They were going to pack everything up that they wanted from that apartment and then bring it back to her parents' house. So like being 17 and seeing somebody that you had spent like an extensive amount of time with, seeing their like head on the wall, like their brain matter.
Lord,
that's
no.
like that, and that's not dramatic.
No.
Like that's that,
Wow.
and like like the bloody handprints on the way to the bathroom, the pool of blood in the sink. Like trigger warning. Sorry. I mean, like yeah, it was incredible. So like no wonder my drug addiction took off after this point. So after that, like the Xanax thing got significantly worse. I ended up getting a DUI off a lot of pills. I fell asleep in my car, and then that's what prompted me to go to treatment for the first time. And yeah, I mean, like from there on, like I wish it would have stopped at the Xanax. I got sober that first time, and I was like,
So the first time you went to rehab, it was from the Xanax to get clean from Xanax and alcohol and weed and those substances, correct?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like the first 3 or so times were, so like I've been to treatment 10 times. 21 from 18 to 20 years old. I managed to find my way into 10 inpatient treatments. And then after that, I mean, like probably 15 to 17 treatments if we're counting outpatients.
Wow.
Like,
That's
I mean, like my life has basically been like, I live in treatment and that's what I know. So like when they talk about like, this may or may not be like an okay comparison, but like when people are in prison for a lot of their lives, like they're like institutionalized, right? Like that's like, that's what they know. So like part of me was like really struggled like getting any type of freedom because like all I know is structure. All I know is like treatment. All I know is that inpatient, like wake up at 7 a.m., go to breakfast.
and being restricted because none of the substances are anywhere around you or near you or
100%.
anything like. It's like a safety net almost at the same time as it teaches you how to be sober, but it's not. None of the substances are there, so it's like
synthetic.
Either,
It's a synthetic environment.
right.
Like once I'm like expected to like carry on that same lifestyle, like not in the bubble wrap. Sorry,
You're okay.
burping.
We do it all the
We
time.
burp here.
So no, you go ahead and finish your comment. I had a question, but
Yeah, I mean, like it took a lot more suffering for me to like actually want to give it up. So like I've been on 3 state mental health and chemical dependency commitments because like my behavior when I'm using is like erratic. It is insane. But like that didn't start until I found my drug of choice. That's not entirely true. I had some crazy behaviors before that, but like once I found my drug of choice, which I'm an IV meth user, or no longer an IV meth user. For today, I'm not an IV meth user.
How long have you been clean?
15 months today.
Looks at his watch.
Today.
Congrats.
Congrats. That's amazing. And on the day that we record.
I know, that's
Kind of
weird.
crazy, right?
It's kind of crazy.
A little bit. Yeah. Well,
I hate to push through the story, but we do
go
have to
ahead.
be
push.
kind of cognizant
No.
of time.
Push me.
So
no.
I want to know
Oh,
about
good.
kind of maybe your last type of treatment, because was that when we had more of the chase
Yes.
involving the scene? And then, give me a little bit of that.
So, so the reason today would be 15 months is because right around April, or the beginning of April 2020, I started using. I got my own apartment. I moved out of my sober house because I had a better idea than everybody else. And then like it was just back to use. It was back to what I knew. So, picked up the IV meth, picked up the GHB, picked up the Xanax, picked up anything I could get my grubby little hands on, and went crazy. Literally insane. So I got hospitalized because I was in psychosis, and then I left the hospital. I was supposed to go to treatment, didn't go to treatment. I went to treatment and then left my intake in the middle of my intake. So I was maybe there for an hour, and then I had my friend come pick me up because I wasn't ready. And then I kept using for another 3 days and was in an insane psychosis. I thought the police were going to find me wherever I went. I thought that I didn't have a phone. I thought they were going to track me down. I thought they were going to put me in an insane asylum for the rest of my life. So where that led me to is I was in like New Brighton, St. Anthony, Minnesota. So I left my friend's house who I was with, and then my only solution was like, I can't live. I can't do this anymore. So I walked a couple miles, and then I found this bridge, 47 feet tall onto train tracks, and then I jumped off it. I broke my right leg in 10 places, my hip in 3. I got a traumatic brain injury. I had to relearn how to eat, drink, and talk. So like now my speech is a little bit slurred, and it's not what it used to be, but like maybe that could be also me like being hyper aware of the way I sound. But yeah, I mean like, and like the looks on your faces, it's like,
because it's just like the way you tell your story. I mean, it came off as just a piece of that part of your life. And I'm like, oh my God, like you were attempting to end your life. Like that's not something light at all.
And you actually jumped.
I
jumped,
and
yes.
you attempted to.
Yes.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
and I want to like kind of preface too. It's like there's parts of like while he's talking, you know, and like, you know, like I'm smiling or I'm laughing, and it's just because it's like me too, right? Like that's like everybody sober, you know, like we are, like we understand what everyone has gone through, and it's just like, you know, it's just like another person, like, oh yeah, I did that, or yeah, I tried something like that, and it's just like it's kind of funny, right? Because like we're sober now, so you know.
You're like, we made it here.
Yeah.
Like,
So you can look back at it and kind of be like, you know, that was stupid. But like in the moment, it's like, I mean, hearing it for the first time, your faces is just like.
Well, yeah, and I'm not judging in any way, and I can't compare what I've been through at all to anything that you guys have been through in that factor. So it's like, however you perceive it now, as you're clean and living your life and you're happy with who you are, is you can perceive it any way you want.
And like, I mean, a lot of people can't relate to that, right? But like the worst part of my life is like in no way comparable to the worst part of your life, right? Like everybody has terrible parts, and like what a gift that I've been given, like to look at this and be like, wow, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. That bridge, if I wish I would have jumped off it when I was 18, like learned the lesson then and there. Like I would have saved myself a shit ton of suffering if I would have just like made it really bad for myself, because I don't want to change until like things get uncomfortable enough. It's kind of like what Chase was talking about, and like, so that's kind of how Chase and I reconnected. Is I was in the nursing home after our hookup, if you could call it that. Where he blocked me, and I added him on Facebook because I was like, I knew I had a crush on him. I was like, I just maybe messed up like the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
So this is when you're in a nursing home.
Yeah, I was in a nursing home
because you're learning how to walk, talk, do everything.
Full-time care.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Full-time
So
care.
he like after we reconnected after 3 years, you know, we lived in the sober house. 3 years later, we reconnected, and then he jumped off the bridge 18 days later.
My God.
But I had like blocked him on, like we had not talked since that. I had no idea that had happened. Like, yeah.
Wow. And you reconnected. What did you say? Because
No, so I added him on Facebook and I was so fucking annoyed. He like waited a week to even like acknowledge or like acknowledge
Well, did you
my
know
friend
you're
request.
like his lifeline? He was like waiting for you.
I was.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I was
Yeah, at
like,
this
this
point.
is my last impression of him is using, right? Like I had,
and you're clean at that point and you're like,
Yep.
no, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going that way.
yep.
You
and
chose
so,
your direction.
Yeah. And again, I'm still not out at this point either. So
So this is where it gets fun. So he accepts my friend request on August 2nd. August 3rd is my birthday. So I post like a Snapchat, like in my little nursing home hospital bed
my
about like
goodness.
the fact that I'm 21. He's like, oh, you're only 21. I'm like, yeah.
Snapchat with the bonnet on. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
picturing
A
that.
bonnet.
Oh no, I
pictured-
made so many friends in the nursing home that like used to, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you did.
But from there on out, it was just like we started talking and like I feel like this is stupid to say because like maybe a lot of people can't relate, but like I like fell in love with this kid just like over messaging. Like when I was in the nursing home, like he was not only like when I was sending that friend request up, like he actually became my lifeline. Like there was like a buoy in the water and like that was him, and he like allowed me to grab onto it, which was super sweet. And he came to visit me once and brought me this little this hoodie that I still have. It was like, and he washed it with Gain laundry detergent before he came, which was my favorite laundry detergent.
You knew the smell right when you sniffed
I
it.
did.
Yeah.
And then he came and picked me up a week later from the nursing home, still in the closet, took the day off work. And then like just over a week later, he told his parents about us. And
Oh my God. And it happened that fast.
yeah.
You were like, I'm ready.
yeah, it was like the moment, right? Like my whole life coming out is like my biggest fear. And then like, like he said, I don't know why, you know, what had happened that was like so different, but it was like, I immediately knew like, I need to give this a try. And it was like the fear of like missing out on this opportunity, like not coming out all of a sudden became greater than like the fear of coming out for the first time in my whole life.
Wow.
Not
yeah.
coming out for him. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it was like, I
Wow.
can't miss out on this opportunity.
For love.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's like, well, I
Here we
guess
go.
like gotta do it. And, you know, I told my parents, I told my roommates, and
And you're here and you're alive and you're okay and you
Yeah.
are out and you're happy with someone you love
yeah.
and you feel good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you guys are both like on this new journey together. And I feel like your strength in your relationship too is knowing what each other have been through, and to an extent, not nearly the same, but like in a way have dealt with an inner demon and grow together
Yeah.
now in your new like refreshed lives and with your learnings.
Yeah, like the consequences were different. Like he didn't jump off a bridge, but like the feelings are the same. Like we had like similar experiences. We felt those feelings before, so like on that sense we can relate. Like like I was never on academic probation in college. I didn't go to college, but like
Yep.
I know what it feels like to not follow through on responsibilities, and like that's what it all comes down to. Like the specifics don't matter.
Man.
Thank you both for sharing your story.
I like
We
don't
have
have a lot. Yeah.
I was gonna say we have a few more questions, and one is we have a segment that we do straight candid stories and straight candid advice.
Yeah.
And I'll start with an advice question because it has to do. I think you guys could answer it.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into a little fun straight candid story. We can follow up some more questions that we have for them. So
Yeah.
the
Okay.
question that straight candid advice. Someone asked, how would you want to be approached by someone who was concerned about you while they were in their addiction? So if someone, how would you want to be approached by someone who was concerned about you while you were in an addiction? So like if someone was concerned, how would they approach you guys? This listener must have something similar going on in their life.
So it's like, what would have been most beneficial for me?
Yes.
Like looking back, how would
Yeah.
I have wanted my parents to approach it or something like
or a
that?
friend.
Exactly that.
I don't know, I guess. Like, it's really
Like, is there a point?
like the same thing with me coming out, right? I'm not going to do anything until like the pain of changing is less than the pain of staying the same. You know? So it's like I have to get so comfortable doing what I'm doing before I'm going to like risk the discomfort of changing.
So you had to get there, not
Yeah,
by
I don't
somebody.
think that's the crazy thing about it. And like what's really, you know, I think difficult for a lot of families and friends is like there is really nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There just simply isn't. Like because that person is not going to change until they want to, until their personal circumstances, consequences like get painful enough.
What would you say to somebody who is struggling with an addiction, whatever level it may be? What, it doesn't matter what it is, it's an addiction. What would you say to them right now, knowing what you know and sitting where you are?
If they feel stuck in it.
Yeah. If they're listening and they know that
John can help you
they're
out on
not-
this one too.
Yeah,
He
I
had
would.
to take a potty break.
he's back though.
It's the coffee.
Yeah, it is.
For sure, the coffee and the
Both.
water.
But
I would say, like, I mean, a lot of people say this, right? A lot of people, it's not just me, but like, you know, you've probably heard it too before. It's like, my worst day sober is better than my best day using. Like, there's no high, like, that was ever as good as, like, what things are today.
Yeah.
You know, like, life is so good today, and I can continue working on myself, like, aside from the drugs and alcohol, and like do that, you know, and not be under the influence. And it's like, that is, I don't know, that's just a blessing, you know. It's like, there isn't, no matter how good you think that high is, or using, or like, you know, taking away that anxiety, or, you know, whatever it is it just doesn't compare.
I love
to where you
that.
are
At
right
all.
now. God, that's
Yeah.
good. That's beautiful.
Do you want to ask John the same question?
Yeah. What I asked Chase what he would say to somebody out there who is struggling with any sort of addiction, and they're realizing that they're struggling, but they, you know, they
They feel
don't
stuck.
have anybody to talk to about it or anything. Like, what would you say to them personally?
To anybody who's like struggling with addiction, I mean, like, obviously, like, it depends on what substance. I mean, any substance really that you're using, you're gonna want to start in like some form of medical detox, because like if it's alcohol, if it's a benzo, like that shit can kill you. Like, the withdrawals can give you a seizure. So like, follow medical precautions, like be safe. But it's kind of like what Chase was saying, is like, I wouldn't want to feel any different than how I feel today. I mean, like, there's nothing better than this. Like, it's, when I was using drugs and alcohol, like, the problems that like I felt like I had seemed so insurmountable, and that was because I kept causing more problems, right? Like, I kept making new wreckage. I couldn't keep up with all the problems I was causing. I couldn't deal with one because I'd already made 3 more. So like, just like reach out. Like, I mean, and the solution is available. Like, it's everywhere. I mean, like, if you, I mean, look up any support group online, you'll find plenty of groups, plenty of opportunities, and like, just like stepping into the door is the hardest part. But like, once you get those feet in, like, you're gonna want to stick around. Like, there's so much love.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
amazing. God, you guys are just so well spoken too.
Are
It's
well
like,
spoken.
I could listen to you all day, but I need to just like actually thank you from both of
Yeah.
us, like, for opening, sharing, getting personal, being like vulnerable, sharing that part of you that maybe you don't want to remember, you do want to remember, and share to others and help. But either way, like, it's your story, it's not ours, and it's in a way where you are right now is the most amazing thing and most beautiful thing in the world. So
I'm happy for you
I'm
both.
happy for you both, like, beyond happy.
Thank you.
And thank you
Thank
for
you so
being able
much.
to share. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, seriously, the details, because they're going to help somebody out there,
For sure.
whoever is listening to this and needs to hear it, and it's going to get to their ears.
I've had a
Just
few,
know that.
I've had a few friends even that have been like hyped for this episode, because having a topic about addiction is something we've been wanting to do for a while, because it
Long
is
time.
so much more prevalent than what we really think it is. The amount of people that probably are in your close friend group that are secretly dealing with some type of addiction is actually more than you think. So thank you both for sharing. And I think we'll lighten the mood a little bit right now, just to share. Do we have a Straight Candid story?
We do.
Should we share it? Do you
for a
guys
little
know?
light
Do you
laugh?
guys know what this is? We're just gonna share a little
No, but
story.
I'd love to
Go
find
for
out.
it.
You want to hear
Go
it?
for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was debating. I'm like, do we even share it? Because
I
I'm
know.
like,
I think we can end on a light
we can end
note.
on a light note, because
Yeah.
you know what? Where you guys are
Look at them
so
all
fucking
cuddled
beautiful.
up.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, if you're
your
not
love
on-
is so real.
If you're not on YouTube, go quick look at YouTube, because look how cute they are together.
It's just so
Honestly,
beautiful.
Wow. And their style, I'm laughing because John walked in wearing a cute shirt. And last time I met with Chase was wearing the same shirt. So you guys swap clothes a lot? Like, what's the deal?
So how it happens is, like, he'll get something and I'll be like, I need this. A good example is the shirt that I was wearing over to his house before he made me put this on. I was wearing like,
He was wearing my shirt, and I made him
Yes.
change into a different one of my shirts.
yes, I was
Are you
wearing like
kidding
this
No.
vintage twin shirt that I stole because it would be cute with a pair of jeans that I have. Absolutely.
of
And I couldn't
course.
wear the jeans because it's 90 degrees. So
Yep.
I just
Literally so hot.
wore it with the linen shorts. And he's like, no.
You guys have
Just
really
like,
good
hey.
style, though. I will
But
say.
I
that's
got
like-
good style.
That's
You're
the
like-
best thing about being gay is like we can like share clothes.
That's the best. I love that.
You know?
I can't share clothes with Jordan at all. So
Me and
what
you
were
can
gonna
share.
say? We
Me
can
and
share.
You can share.
Yeah.
Now that you're gonna live close to me.
I know we're gonna be neighbors.
Oh.
I love it, you guys. Okay,
What size shoe are you, by the way?
I'm an 8 and to an 8.5. Depends on this. These are 8s, but I can feel my big toe wanting to pop right through. Okay,
Quickly before we move
yeah.
on to Straight Candid story, because we'll end with that. Do you guys have any closing statements about addiction that you want to talk about? Get out there. Say before questions for us, because we'll end with our Straight Candid story from a listener. If not, we'll move right along.
No, like Syd, I like what you said though. You know, like you thanked us for being on here, but ultimately all anybody has is their own experience and like what they went through and like what they did to be where they are today, you know? And so it's like, that's, you know, that's what we have to do. Like everybody, not just like us, like being gay or being sober or anything. Like everybody just has their own experience and what they did and how they got to like where they are today. So
yeah,
100%. And like you thanked us for being here, but like we want to both thank you for letting us be here, because like these opportunities, like things like this, being able to share our experience, our strength, our hope, like this is what keeps us doing what we're doing, right? Like this is how we keep what we have, is by like giving it away, sharing our experience, like possibly being helpful to anybody else. Like that's what keeps us going. So thank you for giving us a platform.
yeah.
If someone wanted to reach out to you guys about questions about themselves, or if they have questions for you,
if they feel comfortable.
do you feel comfortable like sharing your Instagram handle?
Absolutely.
All right, let's hear it.
Amazing.
Absolutely. My Instagram is John JOHNWCAIL. The W stands for Wellington.
Love it.
Oh, I
We'll
love
make
that.
sure we share it on our
We will.
podcast
We'll share
too.
it across.
Chase, what's yours?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna have to write it down because I don't even know if I know mine. I think it's just my first and last name. CHASESOBANIA.
Sabanya.
Chase
Chase
Sabanya.
Sabanya.
Oh my!
She's been doing that since high
I was
school.
gonna
Yeah.
say, I'm like, there's
Yeah.
no way you just came up with that right now.
No.
Is
it right?
Sabanya. Yep.
Okay.
Chase, last name Sabanya. SOB as in boy, ANIA.
Correct.
Not to be confused with
Perfecto.
Sabania.
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 Not Sabania.
Not
Sabania.
Sabania.
No.
Sabania.
Yeah, you're like, I learned the hard way. No.
Yeah, I did. I literally did.
I knew it. I
Chase-
literally knew it.
Remember when we made the bill of what social studies video did we make in my basement?
That was Spanish.
Oh, we made, well, that Spanish, but we also made
Those were the funnest projects, though.
We the people in order to form the more
Yeah.
perfect union. We made some really cringy
Oh my God.
iMovies.
Yeah.
You can sing.
Oh, yeah.
You like
Student, do it in private.
Come on, Adele.
Okay, maybe I'll find a really funny video of Chase from high school and put it on our story.
I would
'cause
not be mad about that.
It's funny.
Please do.
Okay,
All right.
This Straight Candid moment is it's just a good laugh, okay? And we read it on KDWB actually. So if you heard this, if you listened and you tuned in, but god damn it, it's still so fucking good. So here we go. Okay, so Straight Candid moment I totally forgot about until I went back this weekend to where it all happened. 2 years ago, to my boyfriend into my relationship, I went up to his uncle's cabin with his entire family to meet them all. It was a blast, and we played games and drank way too much around the bonfire. Besides for my drinking getting a little bit out of hand and arguing politics with his entire family, that's a completely different story. I had one too many, but things were going well. My boyfriend headed to bed. I stayed up too late with the family, had a few more unnecessary cocktails, and then I politely excused myself around 2. And I waddled to bed with one eye open. I made it to bed. I crawled in, cuddled up to my boyfriend. I'm not sure how long we were asleep, cuddled up for, and I was scratching his back when I was awoken by his aunt. She was coming to go to bed in her bed that I was in with my boyfriend's uncle I had just met that day. I sprung up super confused and look at the bed to find his uncle asleep. Yep, not a dream, not my boyfriend, and it's still awkward. Yes, we are still together, LOL.
Well,
Yeah.
there's only a follow-up question. The only way to like to follow that up is like, was the uncle cute?
I mean,
Like,
you never
Damn,
know.
this
was
person
it?
back.
I need to know.
I will actually
Oh
ask this
my
person if the
God.
uncle is cute, and I will get back because
Thank you.
I actually will.
That is the best story
Can
ever.
you
Just
imagine?
scratching his back. The uncle probably thought it was the aunt, just chilling there.
Right? Like They probably neither had any idea.
No
idea.
I mean, why? Like, you're all drinking. You're kind of like, when you're not gonna be like, oh, who's crawling in my bed tonight? Like, it's at your cabin. Like,
Oh
what?
my
You're at
gosh.
like, well, you're also at like a strange house. Like,
Yeah.
you know, this person like was there for the first time.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, they're coming in drunk. It's
Oh
like,
man.
It's like, okay, yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So, anywho, we like to throw in a straight candid moment at the end because no matter what the topic, no matter what it is, we lighten the mood. We end it with fun because
that's good.
that's fucking realness. And what you guys brought today was realness and candidness, and that's what we want. And we're glad you were here to share across our platform because that's what the platform's for. It's for us, not really though. It's for other people's stories and other candidness. So
Definitely.
thank you for
Both
being
for
here.
sharing.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
We freaking love you.
We love you.
We love
As
you.
always, follow us at Straight Candid Podcast on Instagram. Also, we are produced by the Back Pocket Productions.
We
In the house today, we got Andrew and Sarah. We got Jackson. And we got Adam all the way from Duluth today.
I give him his rock
Hey,
from
hey.
Alaska. If you guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, too bad. So sad. I brought him a rock from Alaska.
Oh, yeah. Boys, what do we think? Was that a good one?
They're
We like
nodding,
that?
they're thumbsing up and everything
I
like
love
that.
it.
You guys, tune in next week. We love you. Watch our social medias for upcoming things because there's a lot coming. And
Lots
we love
coming.
you and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Good job, guys. That was absolutely amazing.
Are you
So
kidding?
much fun.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Do you feel like you
Wow.
got what you wanted to say across? Like for the you could go. There's so much detail.
We could
I'm
talk
so
forever.
sorry. I just like
No, no, no.
got so
No,
didn't even
no.
think
You
about
don't ever
time.
you apologize for
No.
your story. Don't
No,
ever
don't
ever
ever
do that.
apologize. That was so
I
awesome.
am so proud. Yay!